Hello and welcome to a bonus stream? What is this? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. This is an additional stream this week. Uh, I'm your Saturday night. My name's my name's Mackenzie. I am so glad that you are here, and we're going to be doing a little extra painting this week. Um, and hopefully, we're going to be doing a little more painting more often. Depending on how things go. I really want to be able to spend as much time as possible with all of you, sharing art, sharing creativity, and sharing these kinds of special days together. So that's actually what we're getting together to do. This is an additional stream. I'm going to be working on this painting that it's currently a work in progress. I started it some time ago, and I'm going to be doing some work on it today. As you can see, we've already made quite a lot of progress, but for the astute of you, you will be able to see that we need to make more progress. We need more progress. Bottom line. Bottom line, that's what we have to do. Make more progress. So that's something I'm going to be doing today is working on improving our progress, getting a little bit further, and doing more art. So I'm going to start with hello, how's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing fantastic. Well, I mean, obviously, I hope you're doing fantastic. I don't want you to be doing poorly, but that's neither here nor there, right? Maybe? I don't know. We're going to find out. Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and get started. Because there's some things I want to actually start with on this particular piece where I am right now. And the first thing I'm actually going to be doing today is doing a little bit of adjustment on these eyes. A little bit of pop to make them come out just ever so slightly more. And so let's go ahead and start doing that. Now, of course, the eyes already have a lot of color to them. So really the big thing that I'm doing right now is just kind of increasing the lighting, increasing, again, that pop, making them a little more real, making them come off the canvas a little bit more. And the way I'm doing that right now is I'm just kind of lightening up some of this green just on the underside. Just doing that already, we actually have a big difference here. This is already a big difference, but I'm going to get a little bit more green because otherwise we're going to be too flat. So I'm going to take just a little bit more green, slightly darker green, and I'm going to be putting that in just a few spots on these eyes. And just with that alone, we now kind of have a few areas of color. Just a few areas of color. Let's go ahead. I don't want too much of that. I actually want some more of this. And then just a tiny touch of this brown. So I'm using a combination now of green and some raw umber. And I'm going to put just a slightly, ever so slightly darker shadow. Right here. Right there. And again, I'm just kind of picking some little areas out. We're getting those a little bit brighter. Now we kind of have these very stale white spots for highlight. So I'm going to get a little bit more of that yellow. Some more white. I'm going to mix that together. Down here. And I want it to be nice and reduced. I do not want this to be like flat, but I'm just going ahead and adding just some desaturated yellow to these reflections. Just a touch. And then going to add a little bit of that into the eye, just a little. And just with a couple of steps here already, this is a much more interesting look. But there's some other spaces in here that I want to touch. So let's go ahead. I'm going to set that brush aside really quick. Get a smaller brush here. And ever so gently just adding a little bit more white into some spots of the eye to help with everything from shaping to shadow. Shaping to shadow. We're going to have a lot of spaces that end up getting not necessarily touched up so much as just given a little bit more of this pop. Of course, the eyes are not always just these nice, crisp, clear whites or anything like that. And I'm going to spread a little bit of that over here. Really light. Now we're going to let some of that dry, but I'm just taking some of the saturation out of certain areas. And we're going to come back in and do different things here. Actually going to already be taking a little bit of this red. And darkening in a couple spaces. Making some places a little richer. A little fuller. Off to the side, I'm going to mix together a little bit of my red and my pink. Really, I'm just kind of making a soft rose. Add a little more pink into it. And kind of start to spread some of that on the inner lip area. And these are just little things that as we move further along and further forward, it's going to slowly make a difference. But there's some other spaces that I actually want some of that pink. And it's actually just a little bit in the corners of these eyes. Even that tiny little bit is, again, it's going to do a lot for what eventually will be more of the final outcome. And at this point in time, that's probably one of the bigger things that I'm starting to think about. Like, what is my final outcome? And how do I want to make sure that that sticks out the way it should? And little bits of pink and little bits of black added around the eye line. These are already doing a great deal to seal that in. I'm actually going to go ahead. I need a slightly larger round brush. Which one do I want? I'm going to be taking some of this pink and moving a little bit up into the eye. Not evenly, not fully dispersed, just a little bit. Beginning to lighten some spaces, bring a little bit more of our flesh tone out. We have a lot of areas that are being struck by light right now. And I'm going to work to start ever so slightly to highlight them. Some other areas that actually ended up not as nice and clean as I would have liked. So I'm actually starting to correct some of what would be like shadowed in areas. With just a little bit here, we're kind of pushing down some spaces which ended up like far too prominent. We still have shadow down here, like, don't get me wrong. And I will make sure that we're going to get that. And I'm actually just adding a little bit of darkness under here. And I'm sure you can already see how some of this is playing out in our darker recesses. But we're really on the path to begin to even out some of these light zones. Which, of course, all of this takes its own time. And as it is, this piece has already kind of been on the back burner for a while. So I'm going to get the opportunity to really get back to building up some of what I was doing before. It's all going to take time. But fixing some of my points of reflection and areas where things should be a little bit darker. Working with a variety of different tones to try to clean those areas up. A lot of this is going to take time. But, I mean, that should be expected, right? We shouldn't expect everything to just immediately be right. Especially when you're talking about a portrait with various lighting. I mean, I've already kind of created some areas of shadow that exist on here. So part of what I need to do is just clean that up. And there's going to be steps where we get a little strange along the way. But there's a lot of different areas of lighting to hit. And different highlight layers I want to get to. So we're hitting some of that now. Mix a little pink in here for a moment. We're going to have a lot of areas where our lighting ends up really uneven. And that's another thing I kind of want to touch on moving forward. You don't have all this even, perfect lighting. That's just not how things go. hopefully you can kind of get what I'm talking about here, as I just barely start to work in some of those lighting areas. And we're going to have a lot of little steps. Little steps. So I'll set this aside just for a moment. Is that the one I want? No. Where's my green brush? Where's my green brush? So I'm actually just adding in tiny little strands of yellow here where we might get some light. Now it's very, very little yellow, but it should have a pretty dramatic effect as I move through the iris. I think you can pick up some of those already. Just a little bit. Going to get a tiny itty bit of gray. And that's just going up into some of the eye in a few spots. Reinforce some of those shadows in there. Get the smallest amount of black. Fix some of that ever so slightly. And a little bit of burnt umber and yellow to slowly build out a little bit more of our nose shadow. Just a little bit. Use it to actually lighten some of these shadows over here as well. Just slowly giving us more shape to the face. I am by no means a great portrait painter, but I am enthusiastic with what I do. So, slow building, and obviously, like, even at this point in time, we have a lot more light present in various places, which hopefully is just mixing better, becoming more obvious as we move forward. We'll have a lot of places that have more light, a lot of places that have less light. Set that aside for a moment. I'm going to get some of this pink. And I'm just working it in over here. Again, working on very small, but nonetheless, what will be ultimately very tangible alterations. As there's this muddied kind of light coming in. And there's places where I can help that stand out more as I move forward. A little more pink. And actually, that is going to get worked in. A little bit here. I want my lighting to be fun and playful, but have a determinate amount of, I wouldn't say serious so much as, there's parts of it that you should be able to see, right? Actually, that goes a really long way to helping add more shape to the face. And even in these areas where the shadow is very clearly much stronger, I want to make sure that I have that liveliness, Some areas are going to be much brighter, some are going to be much darker. Here's just a good example of sometimes how the light lays across the skin. So, getting kind of hot spots, cool spots, spots. I think spots. We need more spots. But even at this point in time, like, there's very clear areas where there's a lot more light, a lot more shadow. Um, Slowly trying to, I don't know, coax a little bit of three-dimensionality out of this. Even doing just what I did now is, it's a lot more extra three-dimensional quality. Some of this is going to be really thick, but I have to make sure that I'm evenly kind of distributing some of my deeper shadows. So we're going to have some spots where it's deep. It's going to be deep. Didn't mean to do that, so let's just fix it up real quick. Just remember, when you are painting, you can always fix something you did not mean to do. One thing I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to slowly pull back some of this shadow that I really had heavy on here. We will be adding a lot of it back in, but this is just trying to step up some of the dynamic portions of the lighting. And actually trying to find ways to step it up without necessarily just layering on more things that we don't need. Now, a little tiny bit of raw umber just slowly mixed in here. Get more of that yellow. So kind of created a shadow there, but then I'm softening it up a little. Not too soft, though. A little more. Actually, I like that. That's good for our current stage. Set that aside for a moment. Go back for a little bit of green. That was a good time to again, just adding more layers to the eyes. And I actually see something like my one eye is not quite right here, so we're going to fix that momentarily. But we just need to kind of replicate some of that way that the light goes through the eye, which is starting to look a little better. Now, need a little bit of white here. I need to come in and just ever so slightly just add a little there, just reshaping some of that iris. I'm actually going to reshape both of them slightly. And yeah, as we step forward and do more with this, it's going to continue to look better. I mean, that's our goal. We want everything to look good. No. This is Mars Orange. And I'm actually just kind of working some of it in the hair. Obviously, it's not like a color you would find very often. But I'm doing a little bit of Mars Orange and some burnt umber in here. I'm going to get a little bit of black near some of the back. Work it in a little bit here. A little bit more of that. One of the reasons I'm making these areas so thick is I kind of want to add more depth to what the layers of our hair are going to be as we move forward. And there's also spots where things got a little scratched and messed up. So, giving me an opportunity to fix some of those. Now, as a fun little interesting thing that you can do while you're going through these various mixes, what I'm actually doing is I'm adding a little bit of yellow into some spots. And those are going to act as just a slight amount of increased saturation so that I can also have some areas of kind of reflection. But I'm not using any of it like flat, like, oh, look at, there's just some yellow there. No. Kind of getting it in and then back brushing up. So that way it can get mixed in with all the other tones. And that's going to take some time to dry, but once it dries, then I'm going to have a better background for future hair. You might not see a couple of these things I'm doing right now, just because I'm adding where I'm going to have some hair lower. If you can't see it, don't worry, you will get to see it as we move forward. Just maybe not all of it right now. Increasing the depth and the texture, and just making the hair visually more interesting. And while we are at it, I'm going to take some of that orange, some of that yellow, some of my pink, and a little burnt umber, and then a tiny bit of this ochre yellow ochre. Mix that up real good. Just some areas of shadow and extra visual interest. Kind of breaking up the brow a little bit, where I will eventually put in like more individual strands of hair. A little bit of yellow and pink mixed together momentarily. Oop, that did not occur the way I wanted it to. So let's fix it. Fortunately, that was pretty easy for me to fix, but could have ended up bad in a heartbeat. I'd originally intended for there to be some like shadows of hair falling over her face, but in hindsight, I have decided I am not going to be doing that, or at least not in the way that I had started to. Now I'm not going to end up covering up what I had started, but it is going to end up a lot more subdued. And because of that, we're actually going to end up having a much better final look. So just kind of fixing some of this skin where things did not go as planned. Quick fix up, quick fix up. Yeah, as I go further along, we're going to have a lot of areas that get much brighter. We'll probably be closer to being on a chroma scale than I had originally intended. But it's going to be okay. Because it's still going to be really fun. Keep accidentally pulling my canvas a little bit, but I think we're moving along pretty nicely. The lighting on this is getting better and better. Gonna have to jump over for a moment. Need to get a different brush. Little by little, we're actually achieving some really nice results here. Now I'm just going to go ahead. I want to get this, and I want to put a little bit more in the eye. We're going to have a lot of layers going on here. That one eye ended up much too bright, but that's okay. It is nothing that we can't fix. Just pulling a little more green down. And while I am at it, reshaping my iris ever so slightly. Now this I'm doing in that burnt umber along with the green. So that some of my color profile is similar. I'll get a little bit of that burnt umber and a little bit of white. I do not need this to be very dark. I actually just need to be able to do that there. This is just a temporary state, but this is helping me build some shadows back in. And we will come back in and do some more with that. But this is just some of our various layering to help with the final look. There will be a lot of layering. Kind of like we've already done. There's lots of layering, lots of steps. Because of the way eyes are, at no point are we just going to say, oh, that's an eye and we're done. No. Lots and lots of little bits. Little bits. Kind of like right there, just a little bit of extra shadowing. Shadowing, contouring. definitely a lot of shadowing. But it all takes a lot of little steps to get where we're going. And this actually, even though we haven't gotten technically that far in this total uh, little video today, we've actually done a lot of work. Like at this point in time, if I stopped here, that would be perfectly fine. We're not going to stop here. Let me make that perfectly clear. This is not our stopping point in the least. But if for some reason we stopped here with this particular point in the video, in the painting, not the video, because the video will end, but if we were to stop here with the painting, we would actually still be in a really nice place. And a really satisfying place. But we are not going to stop here with this painting. We have more to do with it. And because we have more to do with it, you can look forward to some continuations of painting this beautiful character. I just realized has very uneven lips. And I'm going to have to fix that. But not today. I mean, I've actually done a lot. Where we are right now, I think, is truly wonderful. Because we have gotten to a point where the character is starting to feel alive, even if in a very vague sense of that word. Yeah. Even if in a very vague sense of the word, I honestly think that this character is starting to feel lively, interesting, more complete. I mean, just look at that little tiny bit I accomplished with a few strokes. So, let's talk about a couple of things before I get going for the day. Clearly, there's actually a lot more to do with this particular character. But if you want to be incredibly helpful, you can actually help me think of a name for this person. If I came up with a name months ago when I first started this painting, I've already forgotten it. That knowledge has left my mind. I do not remember. So, if you have an idea, feel free to share that somewhere, whether it's in the comments of this video, wherever you find it, or otherwise. I want to hear your thoughts. What should we name this character? If you have a thought, you do not feel like you gotta give one. But if you have some idea of something that you think fits this wonderful lady, I want you to feel free to put it in the comments wherever you're watching this video. If you would like to see more of my long-form videos, let me know. If you would like to see any of the paintings I've been working on recently revisited, let me know. I will be doing another one for the sleeper in the grass. I will be doing another one for exhaustion. I fully intend to do another one for a couple of my other recent pieces. So, you let me know what sounds like a piece you want to see more of. And maybe you just want to see this one come back and get finished. We've just spent an hour essentially doing more lighting, doing more build-up, removing some of the flat qualities from the character, increasing our depth, and a lot of the various required visual elements to kind of make something pop. And, you know, even if this video didn't see the completion of a painting, it just saw the continuation of a painting, it was incredibly fun, and I really liked being able to do this with you. So, thank you for joining me. I will see you all again real soon. If you would like to see more regular art videos, tell me in the comments, by subscribing, by following, by sharing my work. Let me know that you want to see more of this. You want to see more painting, more drawing, more art. And that's what we're going to do. Because all of this is for you. You, my amazing friends and viewers and fellow art enthusiasts, and all you people out there who support this continuing dream of mine, and share this space with me. So, take care, be excellent. I will see you all again very soon, and enjoy the rest of your evening, day, whatever it may be.